This is Star 69, and I am your host, Astra. I am an astrologer, a medium, and a researcher. And today we are going to be talking about the astrology of July 2026. And yeah, welcome. I am recovering from top surgery, which is really exciting. And I really wanted to make an episode because the astrology of July is somewhat of one of the more difficult months this year. And I'm hearing a lot of talk online. I've been getting messages from folks who have asked me to do a video breaking things down. And so here we are. And I am going to share. All right. So we have starting the month today I'm recording July 8th at Praxis Healing Arts Studios in Oakland, California. And so we have Venus going into Virgo on July 9th, Mercury cazimi on July 12th, new moon in Cancer on July 14th, Mars sextile Saturn July 19th, Mars sextile Venus July 24th. Saturn goes retrograde into Aries on the 26th. The lunar nodes move into Aquarius and Leo on the 28th. Also, Venus will square Mars on the 28th, and then Jupiter cazimi on the 29th, and then a full moon Aquarius also on the 29th. So I think this month, it's like it kind of starts off hard with this like restless energy, and then things come to a head at the end of the month, and then there's a little bit of relief. And I am going to pull up the chart. All right. So we have today, July 8th, we have Sun in Cancer. Today is like the last day of Venus in Leo. And then, all right. And then tomorrow, we have Venus going into Virgo at 10:43 a.m. on the 9th. And so Venus is going to be a little miserable in Virgo, and that's okay, right? So we think of Venus in Virgo as the researcher, the grounded one in the midst of chaos. Um, and I feel like Venus and Mercury have been doing this dance for a while where they're about to square and then they edge you and then it backs off a little bit. And so they've been in this tension. And so from July 9th to the 28th, there's like this building up of tension that comes up when Venus finally squares Mars on the 28th, and then it comes to a head and then it's over. And I feel like this is kind of also a Mercury retrograde thing where it's like you don't really know what's going on, you feel it, and then you finally, like, someone finally says the things and you'll have clarity. And so I think right now, if you're feeling a little bit of tension, but you can't put your finger on it, you're struggling with clarity, that's okay. And when it comes to Venusian things like beauty, like luxury, um, I mean, luxury is such a weird word, right? Because for me, it's like luxury means like dipping myself in warm water, like taking a nice bath. Um, Luxury might mean different things to different people, but art, creation, uh, those Venusian things. I also see Mars and Venus dynamics come out in like weird gender stuff. So like I'm not someone who ascribes like Venus woman, Mars man, but rather like different ways of doing gender, like assigned and prescribed versus like innate. And so, you might just be figuring out things with your gender at this time, and it might become clearer towards the end of the month. Um, so yeah, like Venus going into Virgo is kind of like a more of a build up to this energy. And then we have Mercury Cassini coming up. And so hours. Okay. So Mercury Cazimi is going to happen July 12th at 6:43 p.m. And this is Pacific time, so adjust to your time zones. And with a Mercury Cazimi during a Mercury retrograde, this is like the highest point of the retrograde. And I normally use Cazimis as a time to do whatever, like to fix whatever has been like really messing up for the retrograde. And so, for example, I've been having like horrible luck with my prescriptions healing from top surgery. And so, um, yeah, like my pharmacy keeps messing them up. And so I just plan on going to the pharmacy during that day. It doesn't have to be a big thing. But yeah, so if you're kind of getting really Mercury retrograded, like your paperwork is getting mixed up, things aren't going the way as planned. I feel like the Cazinis are just a good time, the eye of the storm, to like quickly gather what you can to weather the rest of the Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrogrades aren't that bad. They happen multiple times a year. And they're just like annoying, like little snafus, right? So I just really encourage folks to use July 12th as a way of like just getting a little bit of a break. A little bit of break. Um okay. And then we have the new moon in Cancer on July 14th, which let's speed up. July 14th. Okay. All right, we gotta go back a couple hours. Okay. So we have the new moon around like 2:43 a.m. Pacific time in the middle of the night. I actually really like this new moon. I think that it is um a good lunation to take a break, a good lunation to work on your sleep habits, a good lunation to figure out your relationship to care. Um, and so for me, like, I feel like this new moon, yeah, July 14th, like right after this Kazemi, where we're like trying to get our like shit together, we're trying to like scramble before going back into the Mercury retrograde hurricane. It's like, Mercury retrograde is like still going backwards, but we can like make time for rest, we can make time for care, we can take care of ourselves. And Mercury retrograde is close by, right? It's like still going backwards, but it's close to this new moon. And so, um, if you feel like you've been overthinking, if you have been, um, yeah, if you feel like you've been overthinking, this is a good time to do some care for your mental as well. Um, I feel like a really good an abundant herb this time of year is California poppy, and California poppy tincture is fantastic for sleep. If you want to put a little bit of that in your tea, I highly recommend. So, yeah, happy new moon in Cancer. And then we have Mars sextile Saturn July 19th. It's a little bit past it, but basically around 11 a.m. we have Mars squaring Saturn, Mars in Gemini, um squaring Saturn in Aries. Oh, they're not squaring each other. What am I doing? I'm so sorry. They're sextiling each other. And this is um did I write that? See, this is like what Mercury retrograde does to us. I'm like, what did I just say? Okay, Mars sextile Saturn. And with Mars sextile Saturn, Mars is in Gemini and sees Saturn a little bit more. So they're in something called reception. So because Saturn Saturn is in Mars's sign in Aries, they have a bit of an understanding with each other. And so this is good for discipline. This is good for building a relationship with discipline. I think folks are so scared of the word discipline, and I actually think we would be a lot better if we had a relationship with it rather than running from it. I think when other people exert discipline upon us, it's not great, but when we have an internal sense of discipline, um, it can really help us dig deeper into the actions we want to take that like further our long-term goals. And I mean, like, sometimes when people exert discipline upon us, and it's consensual, it's fine, right? So I actually, yeah, I feel like if you are someone who plays with discipline in that way, it's a good transit for playing with power, a good transit for maybe playing with brattiness. Like I I really hope that folks uh I don't really think Saturn is the most playful planet, but with Mars there's a bit of a challenge, and like Saturn does respect Mars um in a way where it's like, oh yeah, you really, like you do stuff. You um you have this zest for life, this joie de vivre that Saturn really respects. So I do think this is a great time to play with power and discipline um, in like ways that could be fun or expansive. And it could also be like tricking your brain. Like I think of like those like life hacks. I'm not really someone who's into like self-help culture. I think it's kind of annoying, but um I do like the Pomodoro technique because it helps with my ability to understand time in a better way because it's like I don't actually have to think about time. The like little Pomodoro, the timer is thinking about time for me. So that's another way to work with this transit is to like move between timelessness and like timed things. All right, and next transit we have up is Mercury sextile Venus on the 24th. Okay, I am actually really excited about Mercury sextile Venus. Um, oops, went too far. All right, let's go back 1 hour. All right, so this is like exact between like 7 a.m. and like 8 a.m. And um I actually love this Mercury sextile Saturn or Mercury sextile Venus for non-binary behavior. So a lot of musicians have this. I am a fan of the Astrology podcast with Brennan and Austin Coppock, and they talked about Eminem. And also Macklemore has this, so it's like a transit for white rappers. But beyond that, I feel like there is like a lot of non-binary behavior with Mercury sextile Venus because like we have Pamela Adlon who voices Bobby Hill. Bobby Hill is absolutely non-binary. And Spinelli from Recess. And Spinelli is like, girl who acts like a big tough guy. Um and then we have John Leguizamo, who plays Chichi Rodriguez in Tu Wong Fu, born under uh, a Mercury sextile Venus. Tyler Perry, Marlon Wayans, who have both like Tyler Perry is known for playing Medea. Marlon Wayans is known for White Chicks. And then like we have like Freddie Mercury, who openly gay man who played with like aesthetics of like um not necessarily the feminine, but like the flamboyant. Um I also Tony Braxton is born under a Mercury sextile Venus. And like, I think about her voice and how, like, who do you think I am? Like, I feel like Tony is, I'm constantly listening to Tony because of that, like, deep, that deep voice, but it's still like feminine. And there's like, it's just like, it doesn't need to be like overt gender fuckery for it to just kind of be like fun and transgressive and like subverting gender roles in a way where like, not everyone has to be this like high soprano. Um So yeah, I feel like these, like for me, I do love people born under this transit. I just love this transit for doing some gender transgression and like gender traitor stuff, right? Even if you're a cis person, like there's ways for you to like um play with gender. Um and then yeah, next up we have Saturn retrograde in Aries happening on the 26th. Saturn, Saturn, Saturn. Oh, look, I love this little stationary S next to it where it's like um about to turn backwards. Um my mentor, Sam Reynolds, he's great. You should definitely check him out. He taught me that like the when planets are stationary and they're about to turn backwards, it's like they're kind of asking like who the fuck are you talking to? Um and it's like before they turn back. And I just love that imagery. All right. So hours. Let's see if we can get you before where are you, Saturn? All right. Oh, stationary retrograde. Okay, so yeah, around 2:45 p.m. It's like stationary retrograde. And so Saturn retrogrades pretty often. Um, and I think that in this when Saturn stations retrograde, especially in Aries, we are thinking about the structures of our life. We're rethinking the structures of our life. We are playing between structure and autonomy, right? Because Saturn in Aries is like um a very fuck the system Saturn, right? It's like, why do we need to go into work every day? Why do we need to work 40 hours a week? Like, this is arbitrary. Like, Saturn in Aries recognizes the systems and structures that are arbitrary and like seeks to undermine them. Where I feel like, yeah, Saturn in Capricorn, for instance, is more of like, oh, these structures feel unmovable. These structures are our reality. Um, and so with like Saturn and Aries going retrograde, we are like understanding what is arbitrary and what can we do within this arbitrariness, right? So like we're realizing our job and the 9 to 5 workday is completely like a social construct. If you're in America, you understand that other countries, especially this time of year, they don't work as hard. And folks go on vacation, folks do have a lot of leisure time in other places. And so it might just be realizing like I am working way too much to have like pleasure in my life. How do I move things around? Or I am like I need to prioritize like two or three other things in my life besides work. How do I move it around? Or alternatively, like, I am over prioritizing like, a romantic situation in my life and I actually find my work like hella fulfilling and I want to like actually do something that like breaks me away from that connection. So Saturn and Aries can be this time of renegotiating how how you do things, what you're aligned with. Uh, so yeah, I feel like I think it's a positive transit. I think like Saturn retrograde is a little bit easier than Mercury retrograde. No shame to Mercury retrograde, like, the sky goes backwards a lot. We got to deal with it. Oh, okay. The North Node will be moving into Aquarius, and the South Lunar Node will be moving into Leo. And so this puts an exclamation point on the parts of your chart that are ruled by these signs, and the planets within these signs. And so with the South Node in Leo, it is very much um letting go of like ways that you've told yourself you are special, that are no longer serving you, right? So it's almost like an egoic release. And I hate using these like new age terms because like I'm just not that person. But I do think there is ways that we can identify ourselves that define us by our work, maybe, instead of like who we actually are and what feels authentic to us. So I'll give myself as an example. I used to hella identify as a community organizer. Like, that is what I would tell everyone. Like, hi, I'm Astra. I'm a community organizer. Organizing was a huge part of my life. Um, Being a union organizer was a huge part of my life. And when I quit my job as a union organizer, I realized that I didn't have other ways of identifying myself. And I really had to understand like my qualities. I had to understand um th- other ways of identifying myself besides like what I do for other people. And so this is kind of what happens during that like South Node and Leo moment, is like letting go of maybe the ways we identify ourselves in more of like a savior, or like a hero. We could be villains too. And then with the South Node in Aquarius, there's letting go, right? Um I think for a lot of us, it's gonna be letting go of these utopian ideas of what organizing is, what social justice is, that it's actually going to take a lot of work for us to get through the next couple of years. And it's not going to just happen like that, right? We're not going to just have a general strike and be liberated. We actually have to have boundaries with ourselves, and boundaries with other people, and a very clear understanding of the kind of community that we're trying to build, right? And not everyone has to be in like your specific organizing cadre, right? So I do think, yeah, we're gonna be unlearning some utopian ideas of what we need to do in order to fight a big, overarching, repressive system. Yeah. Whew. All right. So next up, we have Venus square Mars, which also happens on July 28th, I think. Oh, we're on the 26th. Let's go to the 28th. So Venus 0005, close enough. It'll be a little later in the day than 6. It'll be around 7, probably. Um, So remember what I talked about at the beginning of the episode with Venus in Virgo being a little miserable. Um I feel like this is the day where things come to a head. You have clarity. Mercury is now direct, right? Like Mercury's done being retrograde by this time. And so, like, the Mars aspect of what you need to cut out is actually very clear. And Mercury is actually ruling both of these planets, right? Mercury is ruling Mars in Gemini, Mercury is ruling Venus in Virgo. And so, with this aspect of clarity, it like might be a little bit painful, but it will help you move forward. And I think understanding that connections aren't forever, right? Connections can just like you can be grateful for a connection and also let it go. You could love people from afar, you can respect people from afar, but also know that being in close relationship might not be right. Or um alternatively, it could be that um some aspects of like gender or expression could be left behind for something new. Um yeah, so I see Venus square Mars is like a ripping of the band-aid off. And next up we have Jupiter Cazimi on the 29th. Oh, talking about like clarity, clarity, clarity. Um, okay, I'm gonna go backwards a little bit. Let's get you both in the same spot. 26, 30, 25, 28, 24, 25. All right, 23, 24, close enough. Okay, so around 4 something a.m. is this Jupiter Cazimi. Oh, it's so great. Um, so Jupiter isn't retrograde, right? So it's moving forward. And, Jupiter is the great teacher of the zodiac. Jupiter is about lessons, Jupiter is about philosophies. And when we have Jupiter Cazimi, it is a good time to honestly like just write, like express, write, think of like what ways you want to pass on knowledge. It could be if you've been like stuck. If you're a student and you're stuck, Jupiter Cazimi is great for getting unstuck. I know it's like 4 in the morning, no cafes open. You're gonna look a little wild being out and about with your laptop open, but um just wait until sunrise, okay? Yeah, like if you wait until sunrise, you'll still get the benefits of the Jupiter Cazimi. Um And also with Jupiter Cazimi, it could be like finding a mentor, looking for an apprenticeship, figuring out the next steps in like some major lifestyle updates and decisions. And so I feel like Jupiter Cazimi is like a bright spot in this month's astrology. I think it could really illuminate some bigger questions that we've been avoiding because we've been dealing with like uh kind of like minute annoyances. Um Also like Jupiter Cazimi might just be great for opening a great and epic book, like you could start the Iliad, but I mean, I don't know if you want to start the Iliad. But anyway, right? So like these great researchy, big book works could be something that you read under or explore under the Jupiter Cazimi. Um, and then later on in the day, we have a full moon. All right, so uh yeah, in the morning. It's a big morning. July 29th is a big morning. Um, so then we have a full moon in Aquarius in Leo at 6 degrees. And yes, like moon at full luminosity. I think it's gonna just be a beautiful full morning outside. Um, this full moon, I think for me, with like the Jupiter influence, just feels like a new decision in your life coming to a head. Um, and really like a good time to put yourself out there around like new things you've been learning. Like it's a great day to express yourself as a learner, as someone who might want to share like a couple tips and tricks of how to navigate life. Um, yeah, so um I think it's also like with the kind of like completion of the or Mars Venus square, and now it's separating. It's like, maybe it's like, hey, I went through this hard thing and this is what I've learned and this is like what I want to talk about. And so I do think like that Wednesday's just gonna be great for like maybe like telling the story of like the last month, reflecting on the last month as well. Um, yeah, I feel positively about this lunation. And then yeah, we've gone through the astrology of the month. I think the TLDR is like top of the month hard, end of the month a little easier. But like all worthwhile, all lessons. It feels like sparks turning into a warm fire, like a campfire hearth. So, um, yes. And then I have a reader submitted question. So, this was submitted from Instagram and it says, Hi Astra, astrologers are talking about Barbault's basket. Is it significant or is it another way to boost engagement on social media? I'm feeling exhausted from hearing these once in a lifetime transits every month. Bitch, me too. Bitch, me too. Um, I think like the answer for me is don't worry about it. Um, And for folks who don't know what Barbault's basket is, because you're not had in the books in astrology all the time, this French astrologer Andre Barbault wrote about how Jupiter and Leo, Uranus and Gemini, Neptune and Aries, and Pluto in Aquarius this month form like a basket at the bottom of the chart, and that this configuration would give way for a utopic society, a new world order. Um, yeah, I don't think that's how we do it. Like the stars don't come down and like give us revolution. The stars don't come down and um give us these things. Like we have to organize for it. Um and organizing is hard. Um, but we do it because we believe in a new world. We believe a new world is possible. And I do want to highlight one astrologer, Samira Bechara of Critical Astrology. I have her write up on Substack about Barbault's basket and the need for critical analysis in astrology. Samira did an amazing job doing a write up on the way Barbault held himself in the world, and why I think, or why she thinks it's like really important for us to be really critical of like where we get these ideas from and who we get these ideas from. Um, I personally don't, I wouldn't take too much stock in it. I feel like, July it's Barbault's basket. August it's going to be the Lionsgate portal. I don't care about the Lionsgate portal either. But this is like a way to keep people like seeking astrology content, um, in order to have this idea that the stars are like going to make their lives better. And the only way that our lives are going to get better or things are going to get better is if we fight for better things. Um, yeah, so that is my thoughts on Barbault's basket. You don't have to care about it. Um, and yeah, this is the episode. So, if you are interested in my work, you can find me on Substack at praxxie. And if you want to book a reading, you can send me an email at praxxie.proton.me. Um, I am feeling really hopeful that things will um I'm feeling really hopeful that July will help us move through a lot of the muck. I feel like there is a lot of like just brain overwhelm right now. I think because of the way the internet is, I think because of the proliferation of artificial intelligence, um, and like constantly getting like basically advertisements straight to your brain all the time. Like I think that um, with like the South Node and Aquarius and the Venus Mars square, I think like I'm hoping that folks will maybe lean a little bit more towards digital minimalism or being more careful about their sources, going to sources that have like unionized newsrooms. I love Democracy Now! As a news source, and like really understanding like what is like happening when we're like constantly constantly on social media, which is like not to like harp on scrolling, but it's just like you don't feel good after you do it for 2 hours, right? Like it's like people just do it because they're doing it. um and so trying to get away from some of the more reflexive ways we go to technology, and trying to build and cultivate more presence. I'm hoping that that is the I think that that is what I'm hoping for July, is like more presence with the earth, more presence with the stars, more presence with the things that we care about, and less like just chatter.